Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. And of course, a huge welcome to anyone who's joining us for the first time. So, this is the September refresh energy where we're going to do a little bit of a refresh on the energy for the month of September. But with this reading, we're going to look specifically into the soulmate cycle, which is different from a couple readings ago. We refreshed September energy and we went very general. Bunch of soulmate messages came up though, so we'll see what comes up today. It'll be a general reading and general reading for this collective, so it's not going to resonate with everybody. Really shouldn't resonate with everybody, but if it does resonate with you, think about subscribing. Think about maybe checking out some of the other messages to see what else is out there, because these readings have all been incredibly connected. Let's see, I think I'm gonna lead with this deck, and we're gonna go ahead and start with the energetic and emotional backdrop for the rest of September. It has not been a boring month, and based on what we saw earlier when we did the reading, yep, we're getting some consistency already. When we did the reading a couple days ago, it's been a whirlwind of readings kind of that all wanted to happen at the same time. So I did the new moon first because I was already feeling the energy. So I did that one a couple days before the new moon. Then I did the month of September, just the general refresh as we were ending the Mercury retrograde. Then we looked at the weekend, and now we're in the weekend and taking a look at the rest of the month of September, just to kind of see what sort of energy is out there. And already it's very similar with what we've been seeing. So we've got the sun in the reverse. What it ends up being is a delayed bouncing back. All right, so you notice the phoenix is in this, which is sometimes part of the death card, where you've got the cycle of death and rebirth. This is the rebirth piece. It's an opportunity though for rebirth. With the sun in the upright, a lot of times it means happiness. I like to call it abject happiness, but it's not just that. It's really, this time what's coming out more is that rebirth and the happiness, the joy of rebirth. So here in the reverse though, what it feels like is more of that being put off. So it's not so much a missed opportunity, it is a delayed opportunity. So something that looks like it's still going to happen, or if it does qualify as kind of a missed opportunity, it's something that comes back again. So we've been seeing some energy around that. We've got the death card in the reverse, the three of swords in the reverse. You feeling better, but there's still something that needs to go a little bit deeper. So there's a change in the process, needs to go a little bit deeper. A change in process needs to go a little bit deeper. And this is true for you and your person. It's going to maybe be tough to move things forward during the course of September, but you're encouraged to just go ahead and keep moving in the right direction. This doesn't feel super stressful, this energy. It just kind of feels like it's still energy that takes a little while for things to materialize. Just continue to persevere, but it's not painful perseverance. It's not like dragging yourself up a mountain kind of perseverance. And to be honest, we've had some months across the course of this year where it has been like that. This is a little bit of a break in that regard. I mean, it's still plenty going on. I don't mean it that way. I don't think it's going to be a boring rest of the month. What did I just drop? Let's see what I dropped. Oh, 10 of Cups. 10 of Cups message keeps coming back. So be careful to look carefully at, that's a lot of carefuls. Look carefully at what crosses your path. So sometimes when something seems like it's a little too good to be true, it might be that you're talking yourself out of it. And especially with regard to this situation. So there are, I hear a lot of you saying, I'm certain this person's already forgotten about me. I'm certain this person has already moved on. And then, I'm also hearing a fair amount of people come back and say, we just talked for the first time in years. I didn't think this person was ever coming back, and it turns out they never forgot me. And now you have it confirmed. So that's the energy of what's going on here, though, in this collective in general. I'm not going to say that's applicable to everybody, because it can't be, but I would also say it is generally the energy of it. So don't assume that something is that you're not. I'm trying to figure out how to put this. Don't assume they're not thinking of you. Don't assume that you're not going to get what's the best of something, or don't shut it down. Don't limit your opportunities. There's that, especially coming with this opportunity that feels like it's a it's a delayed opportunity for a rebirth, and you have the right kind of energy leading into this. There's a clarity in the energy that it's like a needle needs to be threaded, but it could happen. It could happen. Let's keep going. This is interesting because this is a very auspicious and positive sort of energy for the rest of September. But well, we've seen it for you, but now we're seeing it in the shared energy. It's like, you know how oftentimes you'll feel your person's energy bleeding in, and it'll be really just sort of, it's a little bit overwhelming when you're trying to have a day, and all of a sudden your person's energy comes crashing in, and you're feeling some strange depression that didn't belong there, or some anxiety. More often than not, it's anxiety and like this weird magnetic pull. Um, it's this is what you're doing though. The moving toward happiness is starting to bleed into that collective energy, and your it makes sense that what the work that you've been doing and the healing that you've been doing is going to have some impact. So this is that impact though. It looks like now it's both of you kind of moving toward that happiness, but there is still a delay. It's a rebirth that has to occur. So both of you have to go through what changes you're in the middle of. Your person has that heavy duty change going on with the third party, starts on the inside and then kind of emanates toward the outside where all of a sudden it can be seen. Yours is a little bit at what's a lot more internal, and both of them take some time. There is, for both of you, all of this is incredibly shared energy. For both of you, there is a sense of needing to let something go, and a sense of also a protected sort of space. Like there's a protected space in your hearts for one another. That is that comes out pretty heavily in this. We've got the Queen of Pentacles representing that, and the Four of Pentacles representing the thing that needs to be let go. Two of Wands, there is an emotional distance that still needs to be traveled. We've been talking about this for the whole year that I've been out here, and I just crossed my anniversary being out on YouTube, like, I don't know, maybe it was not quite 2 weeks ago. And one of the things that's been coming out, a very consistent message that's been coming out, is that there is this distance that the two of you both need to cross. So sometimes the Two of Wands is traveling a distance. And in this case, it often feels like traveling that emotional distance. And so it's more a matter of needing to meet in the middle. There's an ability to do this every once in a while, and it's not, it kind of just blinks in and out, but every once in a while, as you're working through this, what you discover is you're ready to go. You're ready to have a healthy communication, and it just blinks in and kind of blinks back out again. It's a very forgiving kind of feeling, and I think what you'll discover is that it becomes more pervasive each time it happens. It's like an old engine trying to catch. Eventually, it's going to catch. It's kind of got that that feel to it. You can hear that eventually it's going to catch. Um, there's definitely something that's not over between you in the energy. We didn't really need the cards to tell us that, but here it is. Um, Definitely something that is continuing to evolve, continuing to grow, even in some cases in complete silence. And that's it for, yeah, that's it for these cards. So that's kind of the environment, for the energetic environment that everybody's going to be operating in for the rest of September. Let's go ahead and see what else you need to know. We never know exactly what's going to happen, and we don't even necessarily ask those questions. It's more a matter of understanding what sort of, like, we look to see where the energy is headed, so you do get some clues. But then you put free will on top of it, and all of a sudden anything can happen. Like it said over there, you really don't want to limit it. And I feel like us looking into the future and asking specific futuristic questions would do exactly that. Our job is to kind of trust that it's moving in the right direction, but we've got to understand, we have the option to understand, rather, that there are some other things that are already kind of moving, things that we can be focused on. That'll help make things a little bit easier. Okay, so for the Two of Swords, this is like a crossroads. So you guys are getting to some kind of, I feel like this, I'm distracted by how much the Two of Swords needs to go between these two queens. So you've got the Queen of Wands in the reverse over here, and you have the Queen of Pentacles in the reverse over here. Both of them are kind of waging some sort of war for the control of your attentions, and this is your collective attention. So this is an area of overlap for healing for the two of you. So we've seen that fear of rejection and the fear of abandonment, the fear of betrayal, has been a bit of an overlapping area of healing for the two of you. So this is a couple of those really triggered responses that seem like they want to come out, and it's a matter of figuring out which problem you're going to solve first, except that it's when that's like collectively between the two of you. So I feel like it's one of you that's coming in as Queen of Wands in reverse, one of you whose energy is coming in more like Queen of Pentacles in reverse. Queen of Pentacles in reverse has got that strong element of self-worth, like a falling down of the self-worth, because one of the things that you've been learning across the course of this whole process has been about self-worth. Your self-worth has dramatically increased, and you've started to figure out, wait a minute, I'm not being treated the way that I should be, and I need to move away from that, or I need to at least stop allowing this to continue. This is falling down from that. So this is maybe taking another turn through the depression piece, or if you're in communication, it could be going through the cycle with your person again, where for sure a few of you have had this experience here already in the month of September, where you've had a communication with this person, things seem like they were going well, and then they skated out again, reblocked, re-ghosted. It's another round of the cycle. Okay, and so there is some of that is happening without communication, where it's everything but pressing send, and the all the rest of the energy is still there. Then we've got the Queen of Wands, which is basically this is very clearly what is more happening on your person's side. So I feel like it's this trying to figure out how you guys are going to spiritually consider solving these issues. So you've got the falling down of the self-worth on your side, and then you've got it's almost like a personal, like, disrespect of their own person that happens on the other side, because it feels like the quelling of what's truly important to them. And it feels like sometimes we get that Ace of Wands in the reverse, and it feels like they just took their desire and stuck it down in the sand, and didn't just put it out, but put it out in a way that you wouldn't be able to see. There's no smoke rising from it. There's no flame that kind of causes them to stand out. Like, this is self-destructive behavior, but it has more to do with what they're not doing than what they are doing. And they may also be engaging in some additional self-destructive behavior. So I almost didn't want to say that, because I felt like, no, they're totally doing self-destructive behaviors that are behaviors that are I'm using the psychological value of the word positive when I say they're adding to the situation. So they're doing something rather than taking a behavior away. This is more away, or this is more about the behaviors they're taking away or not doing. And in this case, a lot of communication, but it's pulling on that divine feminine energy again. So there's once again, you come to that point where you realize, this is not right. This is not how I should be treated. I'm not going to continue to subscribe to this. This is the self-worth starting to come back for you. But unfortunately, it's at the same time that your person also gets over something and feels like, maybe I should reach out, and so it just becomes a very juggly sense of, there's a lot of emotion being juggled here, especially with the Tower. The Tower is tumultuous emotion. The two of Cups in reverse is a kind of a moving away from partnership. But the thing is, it's not just partnership between the two of you. You may be less inclined to partner up, even like in a work sense or in a learning sense with other people because of this situation, because you're feeling a little scarred from it. And your person may be less inclined to connect with other people as a result. But it's especially going to play out in that third party situation. So we have them, it's like drunk talk. Like they want to reach out to you and they almost do it. In some cases, they're probably going to make it through and actually do it. But in, I think, most cases, you're just going to feel their energy really close and be like, what is it now? You know, you're putting happiness into this union, in addition to everything else that you're working through. But the healing that you've done is putting some positivity out there, and it is causing those little kind of, again, trying to get that engine started, but feeling like there's little bits where the engine starts to catch, and that's where you may hear from this person, if you do. But I think a lot of people are going to get close to hitting send and get all churned up, but they're not necessarily going to do it because, again, of what's happening with this third party. And we've seen that there is activity happening there. If it's in some cases, there's an actual resignation letter being written, there's an actual person moving out, there's a change that's happening in the environment. There is a change happening regardless of whether it's that decisive type of change. It's going to be some sort of shift that all of a sudden they don't feel the same way about it. It takes a different position in your person's mind, but it also takes a lot of their energy to move through this shift. However, with this is the Seven of Swords in reverse, and we've got an increase in self-trust here. That's a little bit of it's a little bit of that boost of actual courage to go with this potential liquid courage over here that that allows them to feel like they maybe want to move back in your direction, and in some cases they actually are able to engage that. Although I'd be careful with that because it does feel like the sort where you do get reblocked really quickly, or you do they disappear again. They're working in a lot of the energy, working through a lot of the energy with this third party, and they have very positive intentions. I won't say they have the best intentions. They have very positive intentions. But they are having a hard time fulfilling some of the obligations. And it has to do with limited emotion. Like they have good days and they have bad days. And they have days where they have the courage and they're able to get close to reaching out, or possibly even just reach out and say, hey, wanted to connect, say hello, not even getting as far as, asking you out for a meal or something like that, or stopping by, or this is much more limited than that. There's a sense of a limitation of emotion, and I feel like it's there's this constant expansion and retraction of emotion as they're growing their capacity for it. So we've seen in a lot of the readings in the past here that your person is growing a capacity for emotion. And so what happens is they take on a little bit more, then they flood, and then they all of a sudden retract. And so it feels like, oh my goodness, this is a step backward. But their capacity has increased in the process. So the next time they take on more emotion, they're able to be a little bit more vulnerable. It's just a really slow process because it kind of goes back and forth. This is still the energy of going back and forth, but I'm feeling that retraction here. As much as I feel them trying and seeing them having positive intentions in a lot of ways, that's fantastic, but I guess we just have to see how it's going to play out. A lot of emotional change, a lot of emotions going on that are opening the door for them, but not necessarily they're seeing that open door. So a lot of you have been, and we've been saying this one for quite some time too, where we've been seeing the advice come through to leave your door open of your emotions, but not to watch your person, not to watch that door to see if your person's coming through it. I get the sense here they're figuring out the door is open, not necessarily that they have what it takes to be able to walk through it. And that maybe they do. It depends, because I feel like it's going to happen for a couple of you that are not expecting. And I'm not saying this just to get people's hopes up. I just don't think it's a ton of people. So it's not like when in April I was like, oh, hold on to your hats, incoming. I mean, my goodness, the number of people that we heard back from in the end of April who immediately ghosted out again, by the way. So, I mean, it was part of the cycle. But, and for many people, it was like, well, it's good to know that they are still thinking of me from time to time. But the thing is, imagine how many of them got close and didn't. This is that sort of that energy where they get close and don't, and it's because so the Six of Swords just came out, and it's talking about like this feeling of clarity, but it's moments of clarity, like these blinks of clarity that we see over here in the energy for the rest of September. This is acting upon that, but this is also you. So you acting upon this as well. I don't know if you act upon it in their direction though, because a lot of you um, are not you're not being willing to reach out to them because it's their turn. You know, it's their, I can feel that very strongly in you, a resistance to continuing that sort of relationship where they don't deliver with the emotional side, and you're at a place where you don't really want to be in that anymore. I'm hearing that from a lot of you, but I feel it in you. We're going to take a look at your energy in a second here, understand a little bit more about it. But yeah, here we go with this Ace of Wands. So this is kind of, it's passion. So it's beautiful, but it is a challenging sort of passion, partially because they don't feel like it's very good timing, so they're not really sure how to put it in there. Um, this is the passion that runs the risk of getting turned over and put down into the sand, or that you have the likelihood of not necessarily being able to either accommodate or execute because of the self-doubt piece. I would just say with the self-doubt, and we'll see what kind of advice comes out for you over here, but I would say with the self-doubt that pops up, some of the energy that's come out for you in these recent readings is so beautiful. I would just think it through. Go ahead and allow your intellectual side to jump in on this a little bit. Of course, don't let it get too far, because then it becomes potential for overthinking. But give yourself some opportunity to think things through, because you have a foundation that is very positive here. Even though I feel like that an emotional situation that's happening with your person does impact you somewhat. So there's a lot of passion, though, a lot of passion and magnetism, new beginning sort of energy, but tons of resistance against it. So if your person comes in and wants to be very lovey-dovey, wants to love bomb you, it feels like love bombing. If you're not familiar with that term, I would look that one up, because it's pretty important for this feeling of the people who actually are able to hit send. There's going to be a fair number of them who are love bombing, and yet there's this energy that feels like it's coming from you, of not making any rash decisions. So I feel like that is exactly what you need. This is a beautiful Queen of Swords in the reverse. Sometimes the Queen of Swords in the reverse is not making rash decisions, and it's fantastic. The only downside of this particular Queen of Swords in the reverse, the way that it's coming out, the way that it feels right now, is that you're not making any rash decisions, you're not moving anything quickly, but you're also not making transformation quickly at this time. So that's all right, though. I feel like there are going to be times where things move more quickly than other times, and sometimes you got to sit back and maybe not put as much pressure on it. And so I feel like, but let's go ahead and take a look at you. But that's one of the things that I'm seeing here. I'm not worried about you when I look at this energy, but I do worry a little bit about your person coming in with all this passion that they're feeling, and it's legitimate, and you're able to feel that it's legitimate, but then they ghost out again because they can't actually handle it, because of the capacity problem with the fact that they only have so much capacity. I would be curious to know what to expect for those folks who are able to hit send. We may look at that. I think we will look at that when we go into the extended. You know, what to look at as this person is, for the ones who hit send, what is happening there. And of course, it's going to be some version of that for the people who don't hit send. But I will look at that. Let's look at you first, and get some advice for you across the second half of September. All right. What is that? Seven of Pentacles. And it's very upright. It came out looking a little bit sideways, but not really feeling sideways. Except for, the only thing that I would say about the Seven of Pentacles that feels like it's in reverse is that there's a sense of feeling like you haven't done something that you need to do for yourself. We also have the Tower in reverse, so this is like a rejection of some Tower energy. Could be this Tower energy. Almost feels like it is. Like it comes at you and you're like, I don't really have time for that. I mean, it's not really, this is not the same thing as putting off doing something that needs to be done. That may also be happening, but that's not what this is. But with the Seven of Pentacles, it's that card of, hey, this is a time to invest in yourself. It's like we saw, what was it in yesterday's reading? We've been doing a lot of kind of not just today, but broader readings with the moon and the looking at the second half of September, even just looking at the weekend. It's still broader than here's what's in the energy right this minute. And we've been seeing a lot of that. But somewhere here recently we saw, no, pamper yourself. Make sure you take some time to pamper yourself. You're going to feel the edges of those things that are not yet fixed, not yet right. I don't know that this is, again, a bad thing. You have the emotional self-mastery here with the Eight of Pentacles to walk through this with some fair amount of grace. However, the Justice card in the reverse does tell us definitely something is not as it should be. But that doesn't mean that you aren't going to make short work of it. I feel like there's a good confidence here with that emotional self-mastery. You have the tools to make it work. It's just a matter of, these are tough lessons that you're still working through. And these would be the same ones that we've seen in the previous readings that kind of talk about not having, how do I put this? It's, there are lessons that you've already learned some amount of, but you haven't maybe learned the whole thing. And so this is dipping back into it to take another shot at that lesson, but you're doing so as a very different person. You're doing so as a person who, even when the resources don't feel quite right, you're able to get by. You're still fairly confident. So even on those days where you don't feel like you have your mojo, you're still going to be fine, which is honestly why I don't worry about you too much with this Queen of Pentacles. And I say, oh, let that Swords side come out. Let that King of Swords side of you come out, because that's going to talk you right out of this. And you're going to be able to feel better and navigate things better, even if this person does reach out to you and then disappear again. They're doing it to take the pressure off for them, just like all the fantasies they've been having. It would have that same impact, but it wouldn't be like that they're doing it to be a jerk. There's this sense of a little bit of out of control going on there. But you seem to be capable of making very intentional leaps of faith at this point, and that has a lot to do with this emotional self-mastery, this emotional independence, this this self-worth that I feel like you have made a lot of progress on, that you're going to enact that progress, and that's going to be a great thing. But watch out for making decisions for the wrong reasons, or those moments of weakness. Everyone has moments of weakness, so I'm not going to say judge yourself for that or anything, but be aware that in those moments of weakness, you could generate some issues that you have to then resolve. So, for example, if you start to feel bad every time you reach out to this person, especially if they don't respond, and you know this, you may choose to exercise that knowledge and not reach out, especially if you don't feel like you're ready to handle not receiving a response. Now, if you feel like you're ready to handle not receiving a response and you just got something to tell them, I mean, there's no harm in that. But that's not what this is about. This is all about, hey, don't do things that you are very aware that you will later regret, because you're going to have to clean up afterwards. But here's you knowing that and not necessarily being able to take that advice. Don't judge yourself for that either, because this is like that quitting smoking vibe. It's just not that easy, especially not if you've got something else that's very much attached to it, where the reason that you may be having as much of a challenge quitting smoking or whatever, I'm just using that as an example. You could be working to quit overthinking, but the reason that you're having such a challenge in doing that is because it's become a part of you for a reason that maybe you're not thinking about anymore, but is still very much there. It may be another thing that needs to be solved, and this is a way for you to go in and find that. So it looks like you do have, there's a lot that's just going your way. A lot that's going your way, but you're able to see that you still want to make some pretty significant changes. You've got the Nine of Cups in the reverse, and that's not seeing yourself surrounded by what makes you happy. And yet you're going to say, I understand a little bit more about what makes me happy now, so I'm going to be able to pursue that. You are heartily encouraged to pursue that. We need to look into that, I think, in the extended, because if there's anything, that's the one place where you haven't invested in yourself. This could be a hobby, or it could be a couple of hobbies. There is a world that wants to open itself up to you, but your energy needs to be redirected to it in order to allow for that to happen. But it feels like there's an opportunity for this. There's an opportunity for this because of the way that you're going to be thinking across the back half of September. So let's definitely look into that, because that seems incredibly positive. Where should you be investing? And then as we look at this energy that's happening, with your person, what do you expect if this person reaches out? What is happening with them that's driving that? Maybe let's look into that when we get into the extended. So the link for the extended, if you're interested in checking that out, is down below in the description for this reading. And I look forward to seeing you there to just see if we can come up with some of these answers. But if not, then I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.